Here are some loving words of advice for you Pop-Tarts, from me to you right now. Start by taking a snapshot of where you are in your own life at this moment, and really give yourself permission to look at what's going on, to look at what you're really going through, and to focus on the priorities, the things that really matter, the things that are really taking charge in your life, whether you want them to or not, at this point in time. Start thinking about the things that are underlying. If there's a negative cycle, take a look at the limiting belief behind it. When you reach the limiting belief, try and take a look at the root cause. Try and have a look at whereabouts it might be in your history or in your sense of yourself, and why that's come into being and why it's translating itself as a negative cycle in the here and now. And really allow yourself, really permit yourself the time and the patience and the space that you need to do this work, because it's really important. And if you can't validate its importance for yourself, then it's very difficult to expect other people in your life to validate it for you and to give you that time and that space that you require. So, allow yourself, permit yourself. Even if it means making that commitment by looking into the mirror and saying to yourself, I give myself permission, I give you permission to do this work now. I give you permission to step away from other obligations and responsibilities and really focus on what needs to be done from heart level, because it's going to make a difference in the long term. It's going to be of value. And take a look at the obstacles that you feel are in your path. Take a look at the things that you feel repressed by, that you feel constrained by, the problems that keep coming back to you over and over again. Take a look at the roadblocks on the road ahead. When you look at your future, it doesn't necessarily have to be over the next 5 years, it could be over the next 24 hours, say. But think about those things that are in your way. Think about the things that are really troubling you, the things that are making you feel anxious, the things that are making you feel incapable. Because they're your obstacles at the moment, and they really require your time and attention. You need to put good mental techniques and practices into place to deal with them in a healthy and productive way. So you really need to look them square in the face sometimes, and you need to give them that time to absorb into your being. Think to yourself, how would my higher self, how would myself at my most stable, at my most connected to my core, in my highest state of alignment with my personal power, how would I deal with those things in a healthy, productive manner, so that I don't damage myself emotionally, and so that I don't berate myself. I don't want to mock myself, I don't want to make myself feel small or make myself feel like I deserve these things. I'm literally looking for ways of comforting myself through this, encouraging myself, nourishing myself, strengthening and fortifying myself for what's coming, because I deserve that. These are all small commitments that you really need to make to yourself if you're going through some of these difficult times, transitions, things that you really need to put into being, but you're finding that you're blocked, you're finding that you're shut off from your sense of personal power. And take a look at your core strengths, your signature strengths, your core abilities, those strengths that you use on a daily basis to deal with challenges as they arrive, and to deal with the unpredictable ebbs and flows of life that come around. Because when you really identify with your signature strengths and your core abilities, those things that you know that you're good at, those things that you pull out of the bag time and time again, even when the chips are well and truly down, then you know that you have things to praise yourself for, and you have things inside you that you should honour and celebrate, because they help you to find your way, they help you to pick out a path in this life. When you feel weak and you feel incapable, you can pluck out some of that knowledge that you have of those signature strengths within you. You can think, okay, what have I used in the past to get through this same kind of crap? What did I do in the past that worked? What were the techniques that really helped me and really enabled me to push through to the next stage? Those are the techniques that I need to honour in myself now. My challenges require my signature strengths. My challenges and my trials require for me to have a good understanding of my core abilities, for me to have an understanding of what I'm good at, and to put that into play. Don't wait for somebody to come along and tell you what your signature strengths are, what your core abilities are, what you're good at. Have a look at those things within you and really honour them, and really give them chances to do their work and come out into the fabric of your life. And take a look at what you need to release and what you need to receive. Take 2 pieces of paper and write the word release on one and the word receive on another, and just go for it. Just start writing. Start automatic writing. There might be a few layers of shit that you need to get out first. There might be some things that are surplus to requirements that might seem quite superfluous, but sometimes you need to get beneath what's on the surface to get to the meat, to get to the meat and potatoes of what's really there. And then you can really make a meal of it. So, you know, write, and if at first it doesn't feel like it's meaningful and it doesn't feel like it's profound, or it doesn't feel like it's really cathartic to you, keep going, because ordinarily what will happen when you plan to write about your emotions and your tough times and your challenges, or what you're going through now, or even what your philosophy is on life, for example, you will find that some stuff comes out first of all which seems to be surplus to requirement, but that's really you just flushing out the superfluous so you can get down to the bones. So do that, you know, and you'll come to realise that there are things that are in front of you, opportunities to feel joy, to feel acceptance, to feel supported in what you're doing, and you can embrace those things. You can embrace these new opportunities, possibilities, avenues for exploration, both in the inner and in the outer world, but you might need to release some stuff first, and when you really start identifying what it is that you want to receive into your life, the things that you want to embrace, then it becomes clearer to know what you need to release. It becomes an easier way of thinking about things. You see what you need to release in order to receive something. You see what the blockages are, and you start thinking about ways to really release what's been holding you back. And advise yourself. Give yourself good advice. Give yourself counsel. Remember that you are a well of knowledge. You know, you've had many experiences in the past which have led you to this point. You've already learned a great deal of valuable lessons, and you already have a well of knowledge to draw on, and you only need to think about the advice and the guidance that you give to other people in your life when they really need it, in order to understand that you can give that same guidance and advice to yourself. Trust yourself, hear yourself, listen to your own voice. Don't just use it to heal other people and soothe other people and hope that they listen to it and hope that they take something from it. Really take something from it yourself. Really allow yourself to do that. And also think about where your strong support system is. What are your strong foundations? And who are the people at this point in your life right now who could give you some good guidance or some good advice? Who's there for you to lean on? And what do people come to you for when they need to lean on somebody? Because you can find your signature strengths and your core abilities in that, and that's always a great thing to do. That's always a lovely feeling, to realise that you've really made a difference to other people at certain points along the journey, and to realise that all of that skill, all of that technique is transferable to you, and that you should give it to yourself. You should make that offering to yourself, make that commitment. And when you start doing these things, when you start thinking about what you need in order to instigate healing, and when you start considering all of the great strengths and abilities that you have inside of you that can promote healing and that can really instigate healing, then you recognise the overall picture of your life at this moment is, you know, so essential to what's coming, and that you can be so much more proactive, you can be so much more involved with it than you thought you could be. You really take your power back when you start breaking things down like this, and when you start writing it out of you, when you start really being with yourself, really giving yourself that time for quiet contemplation, and recognising where the cracks are that you need to paper over, or even where the cracks are that are letting the light pour in, as Leonard Cohen so aptly said once. Sorry, he's a bit of a prophet to me. He's a prophet in my book. I am so enjoying the sun right now. I'm doing a reading tomorrow in front of an audience at a festival. I'm reading some of my poetic prose, and this has required a lot of my masculine energy to actually agree to do this and to really get this done, because I'm not really the performance poetry type, I'll be honest. I'm more of a scribbler, and I like to kind of send my stuff to magazines and get it published under various different names and kind of be very shady about it all. Not because I don't believe in my writing, but because I'm just really, when it comes to writing, I suppose, firstly, there's that sensitive artistic ego thing perhaps, but also it's not something that's ever really come about. It's not the kind of stuff that I write is not really for performance. It's very flowery and complex, and I play with language a lot. It's not supposed to be something that could gear an audience up, you know. It's not kind of like hyper political, it doesn't rhyme. It's not something that's going to stick in someone's head particularly. It's not even something that I can actually give from memory. You know, I would need to have the book with me because it's so sprawling and kind of epic and sweeping. The themes that I address are quite dark as well, so it's going to be difficult to find stuff that's family friendly. But I started writing something today, which was really interesting. It started coming out of nowhere for me, just as my family and I were finished eating our breakfast. It's my brother's birthday today, so we just went out for a family breakfast, which was nice. And at the end of it, I just grabbed my moleskin out of my bag and started really, really scribbling away, like my pen was on fire. I started writing this really sort of sprawling piece about the Native American Indians in the early 1700s when the Spaniards were coming up from Mexico, and you know, writing about the first experience of Indians riding horses and breaking horses and stuff, and thinking about like people searching for oil, searching for gold, the travelling preachers coming into the frontiers. I really started to go off on one. My imagination went wild. It was just on fire, and I couldn't stop writing. And I'm going to go in after I've finished this video and write more and see where it goes. But I think that's probably what I'm going to read, which is interesting because for ages, for weeks, people have been saying to me, oh, have you planned what you're going to read? Have you planned what you're going to read? Have you practiced? And I was like, no, God, no, not at all. I'm just going to wake up on the day and decide intuitively what's best to do. Just going to flick through my notebooks maybe the night before and pick something out that I think might be suitable for the way I'm feeling on the day. And I think a lot of people were like, oh, that's very bloody blasé. But that is kind of how I do things. My masculine energy needs to mesh well with my intuitive, receptive, feminine, kind of like spontaneous creativity. So I need to be able to do both. But yeah, tomorrow is going to be a big show of my masculine energy. I'm going to have to really swallow that fear down, swallow the nerves down, and just go and do it. So that's exciting. So I'm going to get back on with the creative process, and much love to you all. Blessed be.